Hi everyone, I'm a complete newbie to perfumery and today I will try to make my own perfume at home using educational kits from Perfumer's Apprentice. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of confusion and a lot of whoopsies, so I hope you'll find it entertaining and stay tuned. Here I have the package of the Introduction to Perfumery kit. I have a part of the Beginner's Aroma Chemical kit. And by the way, it already smells really good. I have here this another part of the Beginner's Aroma Chemical kit, number 2. And I think that's it. Right, so I mentioned earlier that I had both a Introduction to Perfumery kit, which is right here, and the Beginner's Aroma Chemical kit. So the more beginner kit is the Introduction to Perfumery kit, so this one I'm going to focus on first and try out first. So let's see what's in here.
Five minutes later.
Okay, as you could see from this little time lapse, everything is packed in crazy amounts of bubble tape, wrapped in several layers with cellophane tape. So it's actually a lot of work to get this all unpacked, and the amount of plastic makes me feel a little bit guilty to the environment, to be honest. But I guess it's just necessary that nothing breaks during transport, because I can definitely tell it was packed really safely. First of all, I've got coffee beans here, just to refresh my nose, because in a moment I'm going to start dipping the scent strips into my accords to get to know the scents. Now over here you can see I've ordered my accords based on base notes. So the guidebook told me that those are the ones that stick around the longest, so that you can still smell a long time after you apply the perfume. You have the middle notes, which are around a little bit longer, but not as long as the base notes. And you have the top notes, which is the first thing you smell when you apply the perfume, but it doesn't last very long. This is the Marine and Ozone. You can see that here. So let me just write that down. Marine. And now, the moment I've been waiting for, finally I get to dip these scent strips into it and figure out what this stuff actually smells like. So, in general, to be honest, the instructions in the guidebook were not very clear. They were not so clear on, for example, how deep I need to dip the scent strip in. They were not so clear on all the equipment I have. But I'm just going to try to follow the guidebook, which says to first dip the scent strip into the different stuff, get to know them and write down my impressions on them. So I'm going to start smelling the Marine now. So it has a very gentle scent to me, a little bit sweet, a little bit refreshing. So I'm gonna, actually I don't think I can put this down on the table because the scent strip is still wet. So I'm not quite sure what to do with this, to be honest. What do you guys do with these? Like, how do you store them? Like, what do I do with the wet scent strip? Do you just keep holding onto it forever until it's dry, or what do I do with it? For now I'm gonna use this plastic bag and just put it on top of the plastic bag, but honestly I don't think that's a very good solution. So I think long term I'll need something else here. This is the vanilla bean. Ooh, I can smell this one without even taking the scent strip to my nose. It's a very strong vanilla scent. Gotta be very careful with this one, I feel like, because else it's just gonna smell like vanilla sauce. Yeah, it just smells like vanilla sauce or vanilla powder. Okay, don't do what I just did and forget to write down what it is before you dip it in, because now it's a bit difficult to put it on the table. Maybe I'll just bend this a little bit because it's still there. So this one is White Musk Key. Alright, remember to write onto it first this time. Oh, and I can see right here, probably you guys can't see it, but somehow my vanilla strip was too wet and already dripped onto my table a little bit. So I definitely have to get that off later. I don't have any tissues on me right now, so probably also something I should have next time, because that's a bit awkward to have a wet table the whole time, to be honest. So this one also has a slight sweet note, but it's a much weaker scent than the vanilla just now. The vanilla earlier, I smelled without even bringing a scent strip anywhere near my nose. This one I actually have to bring it to my nose and smell it, to smell this scent. It's also slightly sweet, but not as sweet as, for example, the marine or the vanilla ware. It's also not as, it doesn't feel as soft. It feels a bit more strong or maybe manly than the marine in comparison. This one is Amber Key. By the way, if you've been doing this for a bit longer than me, how deep do I dip these scent strips in? I'm only just dipping in the tip a little bit, but like how deep should I actually be dipping them? Like, it really doesn't say anything in the guidebook, so it's a bit confusing how much I should dip them. And this smells very different from the others. Much more sharp. Still a slight sweetness to it, but the scent is a bit more sharp in the nose, kind of. Personally, I like this a bit more. So with that, I've got all my base notes. Probably now would be a good time to reset my nose a bit, so I'm gonna sniff my coffee a little bit. By the way, I love the scent of coffee, so maybe it's a bit unfair, but to me so far the coffee smells better than my Accords right here. So I hope that changes as I go through the order and start combining them. But yeah, I guess I just love coffee too much. Okay, so let's move on to the middle notes now. So here this is a Rose Key. Oh, this one's also really strong. I can smell it without actually getting close to my nose, and yeah, I mean it smells of roses. Like there's this floral smell that kind of reminds you of like late spring. Yeah, very rosy, soft. To be honest, it reminds me a little bit of my grandpa's backyard because he used to have a lot of roses. That's just the natural association I get when I smell this. So I can totally imagine it as a part of some perfume, but if it's like by itself, it's a bit much, to be honest. It smells too rosy by itself, but yeah, it's a very rosy smell. Next, I have the Muguet Key. It's definitely another like floral note, but it has a distinctive difference to the rose. The rose had a very kind of rosy smell. This is a bit more low key, you could say. It's not as much in your face, kind of like the rose smell was. But still, it's a very clear floral smell, just not as intense and strong as the rose was, kind of. Next is Gardenia Key. I feel like all the middle ones are flowers. So to be honest, like this being like the third floral keys just in the middle notes, I realized that my vocab in terms of describing scents is really not quite there at all. So it's very difficult for me to describe how they smell to me right now. And of course I have my own personal impression, and I can tell that they definitely have a distinctive smell. But honestly, I like the vocab to describe them. So this is definitely something I'll have to look into, because also it makes it hard for me to categorize them for myself. It would have been great if the guidebook had provided something on that. So just so I have an easier time describing it to myself. Because this is again a floral note. If it was like music or tones, I describe it as a little bit deeper than the rose and the muguet. So in terms of, well, if I would describe it to a pitch, then the rose was like the high pitch, or the high scent, so to speak, sweetest, strongest, most extreme. Then we had the muguet, and now we have the Gardenia. That has kind of a, to me it feels a deeper scent, if that makes any sense. Again, I like the vocab to describe this. I'm really not sure. Okay. So my last middle note is Jasmine. So again, staying with the floral theme. Okay, so again, if I stay with my analogy in terms of pitch, Jasmine is also a relatively high pitch, but it's definitely not as aggressive as the rose was. But it's still very sweet, very lovely. Yeah, it's much more lovely than the rose, that is much more intense. The rose is very intense, this is very lovely, I would say. Okay, so I've got my 4 middle notes now, 2 intense noses of coffee, and on we go with the top notes. Here I'm expecting the most intense scents now, and I hope that my vocab will recover a little bit here and it's not going to be all floral notes. I'm going to struggle again, but let's see what I've got here. I've got a Pear. Yeah, that definitely smells like Pear, so it's kind of sweet, fruity flavor, like scent. It's very reminiscent of eating pears. And it's not as intense actually as I thought a top note would be. Like some of the middle notes, where especially the rose, are much more intense than this pear smell is actually. Next is white grapefruit. Ooh, wow. Okay, yeah, that literally smells like grapefruit. Like literally. Like really strongly, as if I had just opened the grapefruit right here on my table. Like if I was cutting a grapefruit, it would smell exactly the same. Like yeah, really exactly the same as a fresh grapefruit. That's pretty crazy how much like grapefruit it smells. Green leaf key. Okay, I think I need some coffee because I just caught a whiff of something else before I even managed to put my green leaf in. I'm not sure how I could do this because, like I said, some of these scent strips have a really intense scent. Like the white grapefruit, the rose, they're really intense, the vanilla, and I'm not sure what to do with them. Like, where do you keep them? Do you move them away from where you at? Like when you try other stuff, but they're like still wet. So it's not like I can just put them somewhere. Also, where do I even put them? Like, how do I store them? Can anybody give me an advice? Like, really, if you have like a good storage measure for this stuff, because I have no clue what to do with them after I film this. So yeah, if you have any good ideas, please leave a comment below and tell me. I would be very grateful for that. So it has a foresty, leafy smell to it. Not like freshly cut grass, but like a little bit deeper. Like if I would stay in tones again, but not quite like Christmas tree needles or something. Just really leafy. I don't know if you guys, like as kids, you know, used to play in the forest or something and run through the bushes and, you know, sometimes run into leaves that way. It reminds me of that. It's kind of that smell. Although it has a little bit of a sweet note now that I smell a little bit more. Hopefully it's not coming from any of these other strips, but I think there's definitely a little bit of a sweetness to this leaf as well. Cologne Key. That's a bit confusing to me because I thought cologne was just a type of perfume, so I'm not quite sure what a cologne key would be, but I'm very curious and I'll find out. I wonder if it'll smell like aftershave. Oh my god, it does smell like aftershave. Like really like aftershave, like really strongly like aftershave. Like my grandpa's aftershave, really. It has this, I don't even know how to describe it. But yeah, I'm sure this is used in aftershave a lot. Like, it has a slightly soapy smell to it as well. I mean, it's not just soapy, but again, I like the word, so it smells like aftershave, like my grandpa's aftershave. Yeah, for sure, grandpa's aftershave. Okay, so now I've tried out all of them. I have a rough idea of what they smell like and maybe of what my favorites are. So personally, from the base notes, I like the marine and amber. So from what the guidebook said, I should hold them together now and try seeing what the combination smells like and if I like it. Not bad. It's very sweet though. Okay, the combination I do like. It does smell a little bit more refined than each of them does by itself. So I think I would like to use these two on my first base when I make something. Okay, the mid notes were all very flowery. I mean, we're completely in a flower theme here. Personally, I like the Muguet and Gardenia. Again, they felt a little bit deeper to me than the rose and the jasmine. So I'm gonna try the Gardenia and the Muguet separately and then together. I mean, the combination is not bad, but again, it's both floral scents. So the result is still very much floral, a little bit lovely, sweet, kind of floral. A bit too floral for my taste. I think the Gardenia I like the most by itself actually, more than with the Muguet so far. Alright, so now I'll try combining Gardenia and Jasmine. Not bad, I actually like the combination of Jasmine and Gardenia, so I think I'm gonna also combine this for my mid note for the first perfume I try to make. And now I need to decide what kind of top note I want to give my perfume. But I'm struggling a bit, to be honest. I feel like if I use cologne, it's just gonna smell like aftershave to me. And if I use grapefruit by itself, it's just gonna smell like grapefruit to me. I kind of like the green leaf, so I'll try to give cologne and green leaf a try. I actually really like this combination, green leaf and cologne. It doesn't smell so much like aftershave anymore, but it still has this pleasant sharpness of the aftershave smell, I would say. But the cologne, like the thing that makes me feel like it's my grandpa's aftershave, is offset a little bit by the green leaf. So I quite like this combination actually. Yeah, I quite like this combination. It reminds me a little bit of like Guy's shower gel. Again, I feel like this cologne sense is in a lot of Guy products. Probably that's why I naturally like it, because I use a lot of those. And the green leaf, again, those foresty, leafy notes remind me of childhood running through the forest. So I think there's also an emotional component there, which I guess to scent there's always an emotional component. So for me, that's gonna be the top notes I'm going to use when trying to make my first perfume. Okay, I'm now all set up to start blending my first perfume. To be honest, the instruction booklet here is a bit ambiguous. It says I need to fill this glass bottle and I'm going to put my perfume in 3/4 with carrier oil, which 3/4 is very ambiguous. So I'm just gonna, well, eyeball it as they suggest and hope for the best, but I don't feel like that's the necessarily best method for this. Well, let's see. Okay, this is about 3/4 full now. And I need to find a spot to put this. I'm gonna just put this here so the end is on the paper bag. But in the long run, I definitely need some solution for placing my used pipettes or droppers so that I don't end up making a huge mess. So the guidebook said that I should start off with just 16 drops initially to have some more room to balance the different components scent in case one smell is too strong. One scent is too strong, I want to make it a bit weaker. But for now, for the base notes, I have marine and amber. I'm going to use 4 drops of each of those two. They're going to mix it together and have a smell of what the result smells like. definitely need to remember what I used this dripper for. So I'll put this the furthest away and put the Marine and Ozone bottle right next to it, hoping that way I can remember that that's my Marine and Ozone dripper for when I try to use it again later. Okay, next I have the Amber Accord, also 4 drops. Obviously this dripping feels a bit precarious and risky because all the time it feels like you might get more than one drip to come out, and that feels very scary because then of course my ratio will be thrown off by that completely. So dripping doesn't seem to be so easy to use, the number of drops. Let me swirl this a little bit and see what this actually smells like. Yeah, the scent is very weak. I'm not sure if how I'm supposed to smell what I'm actually doing when I have so much carrier oil in there and so little actual scent. I'm not sure, maybe I misinterpret the guidebook here, but it seems it's very hard to figure out if I have something that smells too intense here or not. If I pour in so much scent carrier to begin with, it doesn't have any smell, and dilute it down so much, it doesn't really have much smell to me whatsoever. I think I'll put 4 more of each, or maybe 3 more of each for now, and then I can still balance it that way. Maybe afterwards if one is stronger than the other. Okay, now I can smell it a little bit. Still not super strong. I mean, there's still other stuff that should have a scent going to be put in there. And also on the scent strips I use the undiluted stuff. Now I have the really diluted scent, so it's much harder. So I'll try to actually apply this to my skin a little bit now. But yeah, it smells quite pleasant to me. I mean, again, weak but pleasant compared to all the other stuff I smelled earlier. So I think I'm just going to keep this ratio as it is and put in 1 more drop of the Marine and Amber each. Okay, so now I'm done with the base notes, and I should now put in my mid notes. So Jasmine and Gardenia are already waiting right here. So I'm starting right now with the Jasmine, and I'm gonna put in 2 drops of Jasmine. Before I put in the Gardenia, have a smell of the result now. I can somewhat tell that there's a mid note in there now, because it feels a bit more strong, the scent. But still not so intense. But I guess that's because there is no top notes yet that really hit you as you smell it. But you can definitely, even with just 2 drops of Jasmine in there, smell that there's a floral note to this, which is quite crazy, given that with 4 drops of Marine and Amber, I barely smell anything at all. I'm going to put in 2 drops of Gardenia now. So overall the floral note has become a bit more intense now. But I actually like this mix of Gardenia and Jasmine more than just the pure Jasmine. I think I might put more drops of Gardenia than Jasmine, so I might leave the Jasmine as is and just put more Gardenia, or maybe 1 drop of Jasmine and 2 drops of Gardenia. Yeah, it's pleasant to me. Still very lovely and floral. But I think the top notes, the green leaf and the cologne, are gonna change this character a bit now, because they felt a bit more masculine to me. So yeah, I'm gonna put those in now and see what that does to the fragrance. Okay, so I'm gonna start with 2 drips of the cologne now. Yeah, it has a slightly different character now. It doesn't feel as floral anymore, but I don't smell out the particular aftershave smell of the cologne either. So I quite like the impact that the cologne had on this so far. Actually, I quite like what the cologne did. I think I might skip the green leaf and just add more cologne, because again, it didn't have this aftershave smell at all, but actually was very pleasant what it did to the overall balance of this fragrance for me. So adding more of the cologne has definitely brought up the masculinity of this fragrance, although the floral notes still do come out a little bit, but it doesn't feel as soft and feminine anymore as it did before. So I like the balance of it right now. Honestly, I'm a little bit worried if it will hold up in the long run, since the cologne will be the thing that, well, dissipates the first, but as it is right now, I find it quite pleasant. So yeah, that wraps up me making my first cologne and my first perfume. There was a lot of confusion, a lot of mess on my table actually. I mean, you can see the mess right now, and I'm not quite sure how I'm gonna store these all these scent strips that I have here, because I probably don't want to throw them away, because I want to smell them again, for example, tomorrow, to see what remains of my scent. But I'm also not sure how to store them, so probably in the end I'm just gonna end up throwing them away. The only thing I'll keep is the final product that I produce.